The Life of Napoleon by William Hazlitt, Volume 6, performed by Robert Bethune. A note to the listener. William Hazlitt numbered his chapters continuously throughout the 6-volume work. Therefore the previous volume, Volume 5, ended with Chapter 57, and this volume, Volume 6, begins with Chapter 58. Chapter 58. Residence at St. Helena. The Emperor, the Grand Marshal, and the Admiral, riding out to visit Longwood, which had been chosen for the Emperor's residence, on their return saw a small villa with a pavilion attached to it, about 2 miles from the town, the residence of Mr. Balcom, a merchant of the island. This spot pleased the Emperor, and the Admiral was of opinion that it would be better for him to remain here than to return to the town, where the sentinels at his door, with the crowds collected round it, in a manner confined him to his chamber. The pavilion was a sort of summer-house on a pointed eminence, about 30 or 40 paces from the house, where the family were accustomed to resort in fine weather to amuse themselves. This was the obscure retreat hired for the temporary abode of the Emperor, and he took possession of it immediately. There is a carriage road from the town, and the valley here is less rugged in its aspect. Las Casas was soon sent for. As he ascended the winding path leading to the pavilion, he saw Napoleon standing at the threshold of the door. His body was slightly bent, and his hands behind his back. He wore his usual neat and simple uniform, and his celebrated little hat. Las Casas paused to look at him with that feeling of respect which greatness and misfortune inspire. In none of his campaigns had he been so badly lodged. The summer-house contained only one room on the ground floor, with neither curtains nor shutters, and scarcely a seat in the room. The Emperor was alone. The servants were preparing his bed. He took a fancy to walk a little, but there was no level ground on any side of the pavilion, which was surrounded by huge pieces of rock. He took the arm of his companion, and began to converse in a cheerful strain. Night was advancing. Profound silence, undisturbed solitude reigned around. Here then was the man who had governed the world, stripped of everything but his unfading renown, and with all his grandeur concentrated in himself alone. And there were persons who, not satisfied with this, were disposed to crush him still further, and insult over his fall. When Napoleon was about to retire to rest, the servants found that one of the windows was open close to the bed. They barricadoed it as well as they could, so as to exclude the air, of the effects of which the Emperor was very susceptible. Las Casas ascended to an upper room, about 7 feet square, with only a bed and a mattress on the floor, which served for himself and his son. From this retreat they could hear the sound of the Emperor's voice and distinguish his words. The valets de chambre lay stretched in their cloaks across the threshold of the door. Such is the description of the first night Napoleon passed at the Briars. They breakfasted without a tablecloth or plates, and the remains of the preceding day's dinner furnished their repast. An English officer was lodged in the house as their guard, and 2 inferior officers marched up and down before the door with considerable state to watch their motions. The Emperor next proceeded to his dictation, which occupied him for several hours, and then took a walk in the garden, where he was met by the 2 Miss Balcoms, lively and innocent girls about 14 or 15 years of age, who presented him with flowers, and overwhelmed him with the most whimsical questions. Napoleon was amused by their familiarity, to which he had been little accustomed. "We have been to a masked ball," said he, when the young ladies had taken their leave. The next day a chicken was brought for breakfast, which the Emperor undertook to carve himself, and was surprised at his succeeding so well, it being a long time since he had done so much. The coffee was so bad that on tasting it he thought himself poisoned, and sent it away. He happened to be using a snuff-box set with ancient medals, having Greek inscriptions. He gave it to Las Casas to translate one of the names, but presently laughed and said, "I see you are
Sample complete. Ready to continue?